So we're here talking again about palpation. So the reason we have the shot set up this way is so you can see my hands a little bit better, because that's what we want to focus on. So our first concept on palpation was specificity is not the number one necessity. Movement is, in brackets. Our second concept, moving from the known to the unknown. Right? So moving from an identifiable landmark to unknown landmarks or approximations thereof. We understand that accuracy is a bit of a problem, and it's been proven through varying research projects. So now we're talking about our third concept, and our third concept is get as much as you can touch. So as far as palpation is concerned, we want broad contact because we understand and we've admitted that our number one concern is movement. So I don't want to be palpating with an individual finger or two fingers. I would only do that if I identified something that was very local, very much in a small area, and there was use in me palpating in that fashion. What I want to do is move from big to medium to small. So we've talked about this with our assessment protocols. We've talked about moving from the big picture to the medium picture to the small picture. It's very difficult to move from the small picture, or I even identify the small picture, if we haven't taken the big picture. We need more context. Ways to do that are using broad hands. So earlier on, in the previous videos, we talked about identifying the greater trochanter. I don't need to find the trochanter first. I can go broadly in the area, right? My hand is broadly in the area, and I have different ways to do it. So I can apply pressure, and that will identify the difference between the soft tissue and the hard tissue. So the trochanter is around here. So I can move from broad sensation on my hand to sensation, or what I'm looking for, what I'm identifying with difference between soft and hard tissue. From broad to specific, wherever it should land. I can identify the sacrum with my eyes. Right? Now I don't know for sure that it's sacrum, but I have an approximation. So within this region I see the midline of the seam of the pants. Within this region I believe the sacrum is. I also understand that the sacrum comes backwards compared to the lumbar column. So if I see a rise, I can understand the sacrum is probably there. Do I know it's there for sure? No, but I think it's there. So I broadly contact the region, and when I feel the soft tissue push apart and the hard tissue in my hand, I understand that I've contacted the sacrum somewhere within this hand. Now I have shot high, and the reason I can tell that is because the heel of my hand, I'm not dropping down, because at the inferior aspect of the sacrum, you're going to have it curling forwards and dropping down towards the coccyx. So to understand the sacrum here, I'm going to identify by, I know that I don't feel it drop away, so I'm going to go slightly lower, right, but not too far. Now I've contacted the entire sacrum. Now one of the things that we want to consider is, with this concept of get as much as you can touch, is we want to mold to the topography, or to the rises and the falls and the changes in shapes of the person's body. So you can see that I'm not contacting like this. It's not a tea party. I don't have my pinky up. I'm contacting and molding to it as best I can. And when my hand doesn't mold as well, just by curling it and I feel too much tension, what I can do is I can use my other hand to help me mold to that tissue better. If I wanted to identify the ribs, now in the previous video we talked about this, I'm not going to come from the pelvis up to the ribs in a definite way, because I could very easily get lost if I'm applying uneven pressure. So if I move from the iliac crest up and I apply uneven pressure, I can miss the bottom rib. So what I would actually do is say, I know that the ribs are going to be here. I can see the ribs are going to be somewhere in here. And again, I can broadly contact, and I can move down, right? And I mold to the topography of the ribs, and then I understand, as I don't feel any hard tissue under my hands, which is happening right about here, that I've got the bottom. Now I can mark that and come in and palpate as I need. But again, the concept here in doing all of this, we understand specificity is not the number one necessity, movement is, right? So if I'm assessing, I would broadly contact. Just take a deep breath and let it out. And then the ribs that don't move, I would be able to identify more appropriately. I wouldn't go rib by rib, it takes a long time. I would broadly contact. As he breathes, I would pay attention, identifying which rib. I'm moving, stumbling on my words, specificity is not the number one necessity, so I check broadly. I go big, medium, small, as with assessment. And because it is an assessment we're talking about, big, medium, small. Specificity is not the number one necessity, movement is. We want to go from the known to the unknown. I know that in this region there's ribs. If I'm looking for the 12th rib, I'll identify a lot of ribs, a large portion of the ribs, and then I'll move down to it as opposed to moving up, because I know that I can get lost in the soft tissue by not applying even pressure, as I said earlier in this video. Now what we're looking at is get as much as you can touch. Now get as much as you can touch is actually how we are able to identify the big picture, then identify the smaller picture anywhere on my hand, whether it's the medium picture, the medium picture, or the very small pointed picture, and then I can move into that. So again, we're just talking to very broadly identify these things or talk about these concepts. So to circle back again, specificity is not the number one necessity. Move from the known to the unknown, and here those two things get kind of encircled or tied up with get as much as you can touch. So get as much as you can touch is how you go from a broad picture to a medium picture to a smaller picture. And I'm only showing this in prone as an introduction to the idea. As we go forth and highlight more technical things, more technical specifics with different areas of the body, we'll start to sew all these concepts together. So the assessment concepts, positioning concepts, as well as the palpation concepts.